Hello and welcome to this tutorial to teach you how to create a seamless pattern in Illustrator. And here's the final result. I'm going to create something similar to this, but notice I have this pattern swatch here that I've created, and then I was able to make it into a pattern that repeats no matter what. Oops. If I resize this and then I select my pattern, it just will continue to repeat. So let's get started. So first, you'll want to come up to File and then create a new document. And the size of your pattern swatch needs to be 300 pixels by 300 pixels. So make sure that that's in the width and the height. And then everything else, you don't really need a bleed or anything, so just press OK. And then it will create this square here. Now, the next thing that you want to do is show the grid. A keyboard shortcut is Command on the Mac or Control on the PC, and then apostrophe. And that will show the grid here. And this is going, once we choose to snap to the grid, this is going to allow us to place things where we want them to, and to just snap it to the grid. So if we come up to View, then there's Snap to Grid. So we're going to press that, there's no check next to it, so we want to make sure there is a check. So I'm going to select that, and then if you notice, now it has a check. So now I'm going to come over here to the rectangle tool, and I'm just going to draw a rectangle the size of my document here. I'm going to make it, you just make it whatever color you want, but we're going to do this blue from the Visual Society. I'm just going to zoom in here, grab that hex code that's right there. Okay, so right now this has a black stroke and a fill. So I want to change the fill to be that blue color. Press OK, and I don't want a black stroke, because what's going to happen is if I do that, then when we show our pattern, I made this mistake, you'll see a black box that will show up, and we don't want that. So we want it to be a seamless pattern. So I'm going to select the stroke, and I'm just going to click None. Alright, so now that we have our background here, I don't want to risk this moving around, so I'm going to come over to the Layers palette, and I'm going to twirl open this layer and find this rectangle, and I'm going to, right here, if you notice, it says Toggles Lock. So I'm going to click it, so then this little lock button icon will show up, and that will lock that layer. So now I can't move it around. Okay, so now, next what I want to do is I'm going to start adding my different icons or objects or whatever, illustrations, whatever it is that you want to add. So I'm going to, I've got these are the different icons that I used. So I'm just going to copy these and paste these, just put them up here just so I don't have to go back and forth. And for some reason, my little pen tool, I'm going to grab that, copy it. Okay. So now these are what the icons that I know I want to use within my design. And then I'll still fill it in with other things. But first I'm going to just grab one of these, and let's just grab this little pen tool icon. And let's say I put it about right here. I can resize. Okay, so now I have it here in the corner. So the trick with creating a seamless pattern is you want to use the Transform panel, and that's found by going to Window, and then there's Transform right here. If you click that, then this is the little icon, and this is what pops up, and that's what we want, because that's going to help us to position it exactly, like perfectly, because luckily Illustrator actually understands math and will be able to do math in the background to get it positioned exactly where we want it so that it will create a seamless pattern. So because this goes off here on the left, then I want to make sure that it repeats over here, but it needs to be in this same position to where it will seamlessly connect. And to do that, first I want to make a copy of this this graphic here. So I'm just going to make sure I select it. I'm going to do Command C to copy, or Control C on the PC, and then I'm going to do Command F or Control F to paste it in front. So if I see, now I've got two copies. I'm going to Command Z to undo, but now it's in the exact same position. So if I come up here, we've got the X value. X is horizontal, and then Y is vertical. So I'm going to come up here to the X, and I want to keep this value, this current value that's in there. But I'm just going to do plus 300. And then when I press return, watch what happens. Notice it just moved it right over there. And the reason why I put 300 is because that's the width of my document. So if you had a 400 pixel document, then you do 400. And that way it'd get it exactly where it needs to go. But because I have it also coming off here at the top, I need to make sure that I do it on the y-axis as well. So I'm just going to select both of these and do the same thing, just Command C or Control C, and then Command F or Control F on the PC. And then once again, I've got those copies. So now I'm going to come to the Y, and I'm just going to add 300, hit return, and then it does it down there. So I can continue doing this with all my different icons, and you only need to repeat this if it goes off the edge. So if I grab the Visual Society logo, and I'm going to resize it down a little bit, hold down Shift so it doesn't squish it. And I'm just going to kind of tilt it, put it about right there. So now it's only overlapping on the side, the x-axis here, so I'm just going to select this, and then Command C, Command F, and come up to the X plus 300. That's exactly what I want. And then let's grab this little camera. And I don't know what that little line is, so we're going to use the direct selection tool to select it and delete it. So now I can resize this to whatever size I want it to be. I'm going to rotate it just to add a little bit more. Kind of want to get on the same angle as the visual. Actually, you know what? I'm just going to go crazy. Turn it the other way. It's a little bit big, so I'm just going to... Okay. So because this is in the center, I don't need to rotate it, or I mean, I don't need to reflect it over, or rotate, reflect, those are not the correct terminology, but I don't need to copy it over to the other side. Okay, so let's grab the laptop, and I'm just creating a copy by holding down Option or Alt on the keyboard, and it just creates a copy. Notice the icon changes, or the cursor changes. And then I'm going to come in here, just resize this, can rotate it to how I want it. Okay, now we've got another icon here for the video. Let's zoom in so I can see a little bit more. Notice how it's snapping to the grid. That's what it helps, so that especially if you had a very specific grid system that you're following. Okay. Okay, so now I've got all my different things here, but I want to add a little bit more. It's kind of a little boring. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just start adding like random different shapes and objects in. First I'm going to do, if you notice in this example, how I have this little dotted line. That's kind of fun. Oh, you know what? I like this icon better. We're going to copy that and use that one. Okay, yeah, that's better. That looks a little bit more like a, supposed to be play button or video. Okay, that's good. So I can just come through over here, grab the pencil tool, and I'm just gonna draw. I don't want to go off the edge. I'm just gonna stay within my document here. I'm just gonna draw a line there. So there's no stroke on it, but I want to make sure that there's some stroke. So I'm gonna come up to about 1. And then if I click on the stroke panel option here, I want to click dashed line. I want to make it a little thicker. Okay, so now if I click, now it's over my element, so I'm just going to send it to the back, and then it went behind the background, so I want to bring it up one more. And to send it to the back, I did Shift Command left bracket, but if I want to bring it up one step, I'm going to do Command right bracket. You can also rearrange it in the layers panel over here as well. Okay, so now that I have this fun little line, then I can click on it and I could change it a bit. Like maybe I want to reposition where it's going. I could lower it down a bit. Kind of don't like how it's showing in between that eye. There we go. That's fine. I don't mind if it does that. Okay. So now we have kind of a fun little, just a little bit more design elements going on. And if we notice over here, I had the Connect, Inspire, Create little slogan of our society. And so I'm going to grab the text tool and I'm going to write Connect, Inspire, Create. I'm going to highlight all of this, center align it. And then we're going to change the typeface to be, let's do Gotham. Let's make it bold. Okay, so it's kind of, I didn't leave a lot of space for it, so say I put it right there. That should work. I could readjust this. And it's always okay, you're always able to come back and adjust your pattern once you try it out and you don't like it. That's what's really neat about this, is it's really easy to come back and edit. Okay, so now I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. Is that about there? And if I come back over, notice I have some stars and a texture in the background. So to do the stars, if you come over, hold down on the rectangle tool and grab the star tool, then I can click, right now I have this weird looking star. A trick, if you hold down Option, that will change the width of it, and then you can go up in your arrows to change the amount of sides. I'm just going to stick with a regular star, that's fine, but I want to kind of give it a little character. So what I'm going to do is with this star selected, I'm going to come up to Effect and Distort and Transform. Let's try Twist. And notice how, if I click Preview so I can see what's happening, notice how it's starting to kind of twist a little bit. It's getting just a little fun little character to that star. And then I can click this star, repeat it, make it a little smaller. Just kind of position this in places. Could rotate it a bit. Nope, that didn't really look like it rotated. That one's a little small, so I'm just gonna, oops, I don't know, it's, okay, there we go. All right, so now I have some little elements going on, and then to add that background, then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab an ellipse tool. I'm just gonna come off to the side, and if the grid is bothering you, you can turn it off with Command or Control apostrophe. I'm going to holding Shift to make a perfect circle. I'm going to do this, and I want to make it white, so I'm going to come up to the fill, change it to be white, and then holding down Option, I'm going to move it over. Now, if I just press Command D or Control D, then it's just going to copy the exact same transform command that I just did. So I'm like, okay, that looks about good. So now, I'm just going to resize this down a little bit. Okay, so now I can highlight all of these, and then holding down Option, do the same thing. And then once again, Command D to about wherever you want it to be. So now that I have this, I'm going to select all of it, Command G to group, or Control G on the PC. Now I'm going to come and place it, and I want to place it so that let's turn the grid back on. That's a little too big, so I'm going to make it a little smaller. Because I want it to be right down the center of my circles. So it's good over there, but I want it to make sure that it, okay. Might have to get rid of, yeah, okay. So we're going to get rid of all of these. So I'm just using the direct selection tool. I'm going to delete those because I don't need them. It's probably a faster way to do this, but this is what I'm going to do right now. Okay, so now that I have that, if I select this again, I'm going to move it up just so I can get in the center of those, and then move this down a bit. And that kind of stretched it, but at this point I don't really care. I'm just going to do that. Okay, so now I want to move it to the back. So I'm going to do Command Shift left bracket, and then do Command right bracket. Just bring it one step up. And if I let go, that's way too much. So I'm going to make this, I'm going to change the blending mode a bit. You could just adjust the opacity, and that would probably get you what you want. But I'm going to come over to the transparency panel right here. And right here, the blending modes. I'm going to come down to overlay. And then I'm going to use the opacity, kind of just go down a little bit. Now we can start seeing a nice little pattern. I can adjust the opacity to about what I want. Okay, so now I've got a fun little pattern going on. So what I'm going to do now is, well, actually you need to save your document just in case, so we're going to say pattern. Okay, so now if we come to the layers panel and you come back to the rectangle tool, sorry, not rectangle tool, the rectangle layer, I'm going to click this lock to unlock it, and I want to click this little circle to select that, and we're going to copy this once again. We're going to do Command C and Command F. That just pastes it in front, the Command F, or Control F on the PC. So now I have this, but I want this layer, it needs to have no stroke and no fill. So I'm going to come up here and click None and make sure that that stroke has none. So now what I can do is with the with the selection tool, I can click and drag all over my objects. And I'm going to come up here to swatches. And I can click and drag this over, and notice how my cursor changes to a plus. So I can add that to my swatch panel. Okay, so now I'm thinking that something went wrong, but we're going to see. I'm just going to create a rectangle. I'm going to get rid of this grid so you can see. Get rid of that rectangle, or make a rectangle, and then I'm going to click this. Notice it's giving me this, no, that's not what I was looking for. So then I'm going to come back and I'm going to see what I did wrong. So I see this little circle over here. I'm going to delete that. That might be what's throwing it off. So I'm going to come back with the selection tool, highlight it, bring it over. And that's still, I think, yep, okay. We're going to go back. Alright, so I figured it out. So if we remember with that double, or that rectangle that I had you duplicate, so the one without no stroke or fill, so we want to select that, and we want it to be at the very bottom. So really, when you copied it, I should have had you paste it in back, which is Command B or Control B on the PC. But we're just going to do Command Shift left bracket, and that will put it down there at the bottom. So now, if I select all of this, then I can click, and I can drag it over. And now, we're going to create that rectangle, and I'm going to fill it with this little new pattern swatch. Notice right here. I'm going to click it, and then I have a seamless pattern. And if I notice something that I don't really like, I'm like, I don't really like the placement of this or that, I can come over and I could adjust, like maybe I wanted to adjust the line. Come in here, I could reposition a bit. I don't really like how it's kind of creating a tangent, so I'm just going to, with the direct selection tool, this little anchor point, and just kind of move this around. I don't know if that one is much better, but you get the idea that you can still come in and adjust positioning. And then I just have to do the same thing of selecting everything, dragging it over, and then coming over here and clicking that new pattern swatch, and notice how that line changed. So it's a really quick and easy way to create any seamless pattern that you want. And this is how any stationery or paper, scrapbook paper that you see, or even clothing, like the patterns that you see. It's very easy to create right here in Illustrator. So have fun designing this, and I hope you enjoy creating your own seamless pattern.